Good Erev Shabbos, everybody. I hope everyone had a wonderful week and that everyone continues to be healthy and is doing well. I wanted to share a quick idea relates to the Parsha and the times that we find ourselves in. So these Parshat Korach. Obviously, it's a complicated Parsha. It's a great one to start exploring the Parsha again, to consider the complexity, the dynamics of community, and what it means to build a united community. I encourage you to take a look at it. Of course, we're excited that this Shabbat we begin Kriyat Torah in our community again. It's a significant moment. Feels pretty big. The Rabbi Weinreb is a fairly well-known rabbi. He was the rabbi of Shomrei Emunah for a number of years. Led the Orthodox Union for a number of years. He's a deeply insightful, wise person. I've always found the times that I spoke with him to be meaningful and thought-provoking. So Rabbi Weinreb recently shared a story about his interaction with the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Lubavitcher Rebbe's yahrzeit, his 26th yahrzeit, was yesterday, or 2 days ago, I think. So obviously people are talking about the impact that the Lubavitcher Rebbe made. Rabbi Weinreb shares the following story. When he was a young man in his early 30s, he was in Silver Spring, Maryland, trying to kind of figure out his life, trying to figure out what was going to happen next for himself professionally. He self-professes that he had a lot of questions. He had questions about emunah, about faith. He had questions about bitachon, about trust in Hashem. He had a lot of difficult questions, and with a young family, didn't know where to turn. He didn't know how to make decisions about his future. And so at that time, when you had questions, when you didn't know where to go, you called the Rebbe. You called the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And so Rabbi Weinreb says he picked up the phone and he called, indeed, the Rebbe from Lubavitch. And the Gabbai, coordinator of the Rebbe, picked up the phone and said hello, and Rabbi Weinreb said hello. I have a question for the Rebbe. And the way they used to do it was, it's not that you spoke to the Rebbe. The Gabbai would explain to the Rebbe who was on the phone, what it was all about, and then the Rebbe would give his answer. And so the Gabbai said, no, what's your question? So Rabbi Weinreb, deliberately without identifying himself, because it was a little bit vulnerable to tell the Lubavitcher Rebbe you had questions of faith. He said, I'm a Jew from Silver Spring, Maryland, and I have a lot of questions. I have questions about faith. I have questions about belief. I have questions about what should I do professionally. So Rabbi Weinreb heard the Gabbai repeat the conversation back to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. It's a Jew from Silver Spring. He has questions about faith. He has just a lot of questions. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Weinreb could hear in the background, said, there's a Jew, tell him there's a Jew in Silver Spring who can answer all of his questions. So the Gabbai said, did you hear what the Rebbe said? So Rabbi Weinreb was excited. Rabbi Weinreb said, yeah, I did. Who's the Jew? Who should I turn to answer my questions? And Rabbi Weinreb says that he heard the Lubavitcher Rebbe in the background. And remember, Rabbi Weinreb didn't identify himself. And on the telephone, he didn't say who he was. In the background, he heard the Lubavitcher Rebbe say to the Gabbai, the Jew in Silver Spring, his name is Weinreb. He should go see Weinreb. And the Gabbai said, did you hear again what the Rebbe said? And Rabbi Weinreb was stunned. He wanted to hear it again. He wasn't sure that's what the Lubavitcher Rebbe said. So he said to the Gabbai, no, I didn't. So the Gabbai said, the Lubavitcher Rebbe said, the Jew in Silver Spring who knows all the answers to your questions is Weinreb. And Rabbi Weinreb says back to the Gabbai, that's my name. That's who I am. And the Gabbai, Rabbi Weinreb said you could hear the Gabbai was shocked, was stunned. And the Gabbai went back to the Lubavitcher Rebbe and said, is there another Weinreb? Is there another Rabbi Weinreb that he should go and ask? And Lubavitcher Rebbe says sometimes you have to have a conversation with yourself. To find answers, you sometimes have to look within. You have to speak with yourself. Rabbi Weinreb publicly shares that whenever in his life he finds himself at a crossroads, he finds himself at a turning point, he sits down. He learns some of the Lubavitcher Rebbe's Torah, Lekutei Sichos, whatever book it is. And then he has a conversation with himself. And then he talks with himself. How we would describe, he takes a look in the mirror. So much of the experience that we've had over these past couple of months has been that look in the mirror experience. When Korach approaches Moshe, he argues that all the Jewish people are holy. He makes a perfectly valid argument that we are all holy, and therefore we all deserve to have the mantle of leadership. Why is it you, Moshe, who gets the leadership more than anyone else? What was missing from Korach's argument? What was missing was a self-awareness, an honesty. Rav Soloveitchik famously says that there's two types of kedusha. There's two types of holiness. There's generic holiness that the entire Jewish people received at Har Sinai, and it's equal. We all received the same equal holiness. And then there's a subjective holiness. There's a holiness that we fight for, that we earn, that we deserve. There's a holiness that's based off of our character traits and our ability to pursue mitzvot and to celebrate Shabbat and to keep kashrut and to build our relationship with God. There's an objective holiness that Korach identified. And there's a subjective holiness that we need to each identify for ourselves, within ourselves. That's what Korach missed. Korach recognized the objective holiness. He never understood that each and every Jew has a subjective holiness. Each and every Jew has the opportunity to build themselves up. Moshe pursued holiness and reached the highest heights that he could. The challenge to us, like the Lubavitcher Rebbe challenged Rabbi Weinreb all those years ago, is to have a conversation with ourselves during these frail moments, during these anxiety-inducing moments, during these ambiguous times, to say to ourselves, what is our subjective holiness? What are we trying to achieve in our fragile lives? Looking forward to seeing some of you over Shabbat, and please God, I'm looking forward to a healthy and a holy Shabbat in our PJC family. Take care.